there's just something about boxing, mate. Like, it's respectful, but see, at the same time, you mix that respect with what I take that guy's head off. Like, I'm not being funny, see somebody standing in front of me hitting me, like, it generally gets me excited. I don't know, I think you need to be tapped in the brain or something, but I think boxing chooses the people. You don't choose boxing, as they say, do you know what I mean? Boxing chooses you.
Yes, we are back at it at the Real Life, and this week's guest, it's the Shark, it's Regan Glackin. How you doing, brother?
How you doing, mate? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome, mate. How's life in general, mate?
Good, mate. Happy. Good with good weather.
Oh, that's it, mate, innit? You're 7-0 at this moment in time, 2 knockouts. Is it consistency that you need at this moment in your career?
100%. I just need to, as I say, I take each fight at a time, treat every opponent the same.
They say a happy fighter is a dangerous fighter. How much are you enjoying the game at this moment?
I love it, mate. As hard as it is, I think this sport is demanding as boxing. I think you need to enjoy it as tough as it is. Like, I'm not going to sit here and obviously some sessions are grueling. I'd be lying if I says at times when you're making weight, do you know what I mean? That's the big focus. See, when you're making weight and stuff like that, that's when you're sitting there and you're thinking, why did I do this to myself? Do you know what I mean? Every fighter goes through that, but 99% of the time I enjoy what I do, do you know what I mean? And I promise myself with coaches, stuff like that, the moment I stopped enjoying the sport of boxing, that's when I'll go, do you know what I mean? 100%.
Do you feel the bigger the challenge that you face in front of you, the better Regan Glackin we will see?
100%. As I say, it's easy sitting here saying that, like, I need to go out and prove that. So I mean, that's a good thing that I like about that. I'm going to get this chance to go do that, but I think it's natural. The better fight in front of me and the bigger task is only going to make me more nervous, more hungry. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. I'm crying out for some days I just touched on to come and give it a right good go, and that's when you're definitely going to see the best of me, because that's when I enjoy it. Do you know what I mean?
Let's just say the next 12 to 18 months, do you believe this is your time to shine in the sport and it's time to start collecting those belts?
100%. I've obviously just signed a new deal and stuff, a new promoter and stuff like that, a new management team, so I believe they've got the opportunities in place and my contract and stuff, so I think it's now time for me. The apprenticeship side, I think, just coming to a close and it's time to kick on. Do you know what I mean? I'm interested in being involved in good fights, challenging myself. I'm certainly not scared to get any losses or stuff in the record. Do you know what I mean? I'd like to put that out there. I just want to be involved in exciting fights, and I believe with the management and the chats we've had, that's what it's going to be going forward. So
you will fight anybody, won't you?
100%, 100%. And that's not me saying that behind the camera, mate. That's just generally. See, as long as I've got the right preparation, my coaches and team agree with certain opponents and stuff like that, I'll happily fight anybody. That's what you're in the game for. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. You've got a fantastic attitude, Regan. Where do you get that from?
I think a lot of it's to do the way I was brought up. I put a massive emphasis on family and friendship, and we obviously had a wee talk there before we came on, and family's something obviously I base myself on a lot. Do you know what I mean? I'm nothing without my family, so I think it's the way my mum and dad have both kind of came from. No, nothing, like they've both had a good upbringing, but the way they are and the way they work reflects on me. Do you know what I mean? Obviously shines through. So I believe it's a lot to do with my mum and dad. Obviously, do you know what I mean?
You've quit the day job, you're balls deep in this, mate. Do you feel you can go all the way?
100%. As I say, I'm not one of these people that sits and goes, oh, if I don't win this title or if I don't get there or that. I just believe, mate, I think it's proven in life that if you work hard and you put yourself, you put the work in, then it generally can take you so far, do you know what I mean? And I do that, so I don't think there's any reason that I can't go far.
What's the end goal? What's the big prize in the future?
To be happy and satisfied and knowing that I gave it 100%. And if I do that and stay injury free, touch wood, health is good, then I do believe it'll be I do believe I'll be a world champion at one point. And I think that's just a matter of time. As I said, I'm not scared of losses, I'm not scared of setbacks. I'll know the time when it's done to hang up the gloves, but I fully expect at that point to be sitting with a world championship, 100%.
You're talking about being a world champion. Every fighter has dreams, they have visions. What's your visions and dreams?
If I was to cut it down to obviously one vision, obviously every fighter wants to win that world title. That's why you get involved in it, to be the best in the division. But in terms of a goal for me, that if you were a world champion, I believe was to fight at Parkhead, that would be for me. That is my goal. Obviously, fighters want to fight in Vegas, Madison Square Garden, stuff like that. But for me, if I fought there, I'd be a happy man.
Could you
Very
imagine
happy
that,
with
mate? And the way it's done the European night with the lasers and that on the middle of the park. Could you imagine that ring there, right? And you're walking out to the old jungle, as they call it. It's packed with 60,000. Describe that feeling to me.
Yeah, honestly. I said as a wee boy, obviously, when I've both done football as well, if I didn't play at Parkhead, I would like to fight there one day. So the disco lights, obviously, they call them, don't they? That would be obviously, I mean, for me, that'd be a dream come true. No matter what would happen at the fight, just being there in that moment, it's something, obviously. Something I dream about, obviously.
I'm
do you know
getting
what I mean?
goosebumps thinking about that, mate. That is absolutely
Crazy,
fantastic.
mate.
That's something special, isn't it?
100%, man. See, even talking about that generally gets me excited. So I think setting goals like that do excite you and motivate you, then there's no point in setting stuff at the limits. You're always as well testing yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Do dreams like that keep you focused and motivated in the sport? 'Cause this is a very hard sport. It's very lonely. You need good people around about. You need dreams. You need to follow those dreams up. Is those dreams keeping you mainly focused in what you're doing at the moment, this moment in time?
100%. I mean, dreams are nothing without goals. They're technically just dreams. Do you know what I mean? I'm quoting Denzel Washington there, but that's exactly one of his things. Dreams without goals are literally just dreams. You're never going to get there, and I think that's the important thing for me. You just set goals, and that's certain things like my next goal is just win this next fight and look good, and then you set a new goal and stuff like that. So I think always try to improve just on the daily, never mind each fight, each camp, just improving that 1% each day. For me, small goals lead to big, obviously, big destinations.
To be a special fighter, you have to take risks. Just for talking sakes, an opportunity to come up a match room or a Queensberry show. Would you take that opportunity for saying, if the money's right, for a British title, something like that? Would you take the opportunity if that came your way?
100%. Listen, any fighter that's got any aspirations, if you weren't in the game to test yourself against fights that people may put you as an underdog, stuff like that, you're on the B side. See, as long as you're saying, obviously the money's right, you need to obviously know how to market yourself in the right way. But I think if I've had the right time, the right preparation and stuff like that, the money's right, then 100%. I think I'm in the wrong spot if I don't want to test myself and try and take risks. See, if without taking risks, you're always going to just be mediocre, do you know what I mean? So I would always want to take risks, whether it would pay off. Might setback, but setbacks make bigger comebacks, don't they? So
How much are you in love with the sport?
I think you need to be, mate. I think you need to be obsessed with it. As I say, mate, like people always go, see that at the end of the day, mate, the easiest way of putting it, the fighting side is the easiest part about it. It's tough, but that's what we enjoy, but it's the stuff that comes with that people don't see that's the hardest bit. And I think with all the sacrifice us boxers go through in our day-to-day life, see if you're not obsessed with it, then you're going to get fun out, do you know what I mean? You need to be obsessed, mate. When you look at all the best professionals in the world, whether it be Tiger Woods at golf, Michael Jordan, Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather, these people are obsessed, mate. Do you know what I mean? It's not just a training camp, they're going away until the next camp. These people live their life. And I think that's what I'm trying to kind of emulate for the start of my career. If you can do that early on, as we know, mate, hard work pays off. So I think you need to be obsessed with it. It's a lifestyle, especially with boxing, which is different to other sports, mate. You've got football and stuff that is obviously it's year round as well, but the stuff these people can do on a week-to-week basis is different for us as fighters, you know what I mean? So when you sign up to boxing, mate, you're not just signing up for the fights, it's a lifestyle. I think that's the biggest eye-opener for me and for people close to me that see it's not just the fighting, it's everything that comes with it, do you know what I mean?
What comes with this sport is stress, pressure, highs and lows. How important is it to have good people around about you, i.e. your family, in such a sport list when things aren't going your way, and sometimes when they're going your way? How important is having those people around about you at those times?
Massively, mate. I think that obviously comes into all walks of life, do you know what I mean? Having the right people, because as you just said, especially with a sports stuff as boxing, you're going to have setbacks, you're going to have heartbreak, you're going to have pain, physical pain. You need the right people there to be in place, do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, mate, see, I'd be sitting here lying. There comes points, mate, where you always think to yourself, like, oh, what am I doing? Am I going to get here? Like, is it going to pay off? Stuff like that. I think you need the right people around about you, and I'm just lucky that I've got a good family and a very close friendship group that are like family, that are there regardless, through the good and the bad, mate, because let's be honest, seeing the fight game, mate, it's literally, it's on the night, it's one guy's heartbreaks and another guy's success.
Exactly.
Like, it's the highs and lows of what people don't see, do you know what I mean? But I think that goes in all walks of life. You need the right people there, because some people take setbacks worse than others, some people brush them off on others, do you know what I mean? But it's having the right people there can obviously make a big difference to an impact.
You come from a wonderful family. Would it be fair to say your mum would have sacrificed a lot to get you where you're at this moment in time in your life?
So that's the way I'm today. Listen, my mum and dad gave me an upbringing that I always say, mate, I don't fight for myself, mate, I fight for them to try and give. I'll never be able to emulate what my mum and dad have done for me, mate. And I'm sure a lot of people in their own rights, mum and dads are like that, they've always give, but I've been gave more than what I've ever wished for. But at the same time, my mum and dad's always brought me up in a way where that's never changed who I'm, do you know what I mean? And it never will. So I would love, mate, honestly, my end goal would, as we spoke about, obviously world champion stuff, but see, to be able to give back to them without even worrying about anything like that, for me, mate, would be better than any world title belt, do you know what I mean?
How grateful are you for that, for the work they've done for you?
Massively. I could generally never repay them, mate. And it's not just the material things, the way they've brought me up as well, mate. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's just a lot of love, a lot of support, mate. Do you know what I mean? It's when the going gets tough, mate, in certain points of life and in sport, mate, you need the right people there, as we've just touched on. So having them there, obviously, and support me the way they do, mate, I could never, not just my mum and dad, mate, my brother, my sister, my gran, my papa and stuff, my immediate family, do you know what I mean? But my brother, my sister, my mum and dad, we're a very tight unit, do you know what I mean? And when I'm not at boxing, I'm not training, I like to spend time with them and my friends as much as I can, do you know what I mean? And I think that obviously reflects on the way I live and the way I'm as a person, I believe, because the support I've had for them for a young age, do you know what I mean?
Who's the boss in the house?
The pug. The dog, the pug. We've a joke now that I'm older, that I try and put up my dad a wee bit, but my dad's always got to be the boss of the house. No matter how big, he always says, no matter how big or good I get, I'll never be big enough for him, so it's kind of right. So I tried to go all week now, so I get too flat in my back.
What does your dad do for a living?
Owns a security company.
Right.
So my dad, years ago, kind of similar to what I went through is my apprenticeship job and stuff. He was a plant mechanic, so he used to fix like cranes and machinery and stuff. But at the age of 18, my mum and dad they were married early. They were both married in their own house and stuff, and had my older brother, when they were like 19, 20. So they've always both, my mum was a hairdresser as well, my dad, but now for the age of 18, he's been involved in security. And then
Do you enjoy it, aye?
he loves it, mate, but he's my dad's like me, that's where I take my work ethic. He's out at 6 in the morning, mate, by me, do you know what I mean? And then he's back at 7, 8 at night. So he's got a good successful security company now, with a few partners, and they're really booming now, do you know what I mean? The last few years, especially through lockdown and stuff, where most companies took a hit, he's actually grown, do you know what I mean? He's very high up in terms of like football and events, concert stuff like that, so he's a workaholic, mate.
What does mum do?
She was a hairdresser growing up, and she's always had her own dance school, but now she's just kind of a dance school a few days a week, and then she obviously sometimes she works with my dad and stuff like that. My dad's got her in at Celtic Park at the suites and stuff like that, so she enjoys that, but mostly she runs a dance school, do you know what I mean? So that's what she kind of does.
Any moves off or no? She gives some moves?
I've got the moves in the dance floor, but I've got to have a beard in me. I've got the moves, don't worry.
You're one of 3 siblings, as you just touched on there. How close is?
Oh, very. I think we've always been, obviously growing up, me and my brother, we're all similar ages. My brother's a 1996, I'm a 98, and my wee sister's a 2001, so there's always like 2 or 3 years in between all of us. So me and my brother, obviously growing up as boys down the house, mate, we used to fight like mad. Like, I don't mean like kid on, I mean proper fights, do you know what I mean? I think that's how I've ended up being a boxer, mate, because all the downs I took off him as a wee boy. But I don't think he'd fancy it much now, to be fair, but we're very close. I'd say more personality-wise, I'm more like my wee sister. She's more like me, whereas my brother's a wee bit more cool-headed, a wee bit more lazy than me. But we're all very, very tight. We all support each other. My wee sister, she was a very, very good dancer for years, won multiple titles. My brother, he's a good footballer. Should have done better than what he's done. He's had a few unfortunate breaks, but we're all a tight group, do you know what I mean?
Where's he playing now?
He's at Petershill Juniors with one of my closest wee friends, Ronan, as well. So I think they've got a game in hand, but I think if they get 4 points out their next 2 games, they win the league for promotion. So over the years, he was like me, played with a few good pro youth teams and that, but he's at Petershill now. He's at the Pisa, Springburn Pisa.
How much have they to go at your back?
Massively. My wee sister, my brother, honestly, like 2 agents, mate, they help me with everything, to see like tickets, orders, setting table plans out for fans, stuff like that, just everything, mate, daily day. My brother, mate, he's like a second coach behind Joe, mate. He's doing the early morning runs, he's up with me. He's almost in it as much as me, mate. He loves boxing, so see when he goes home for work, mate, I go home. So if I'm at training, I go home. He's right in for work and he's got box. He actually watches more boxing interviews. I study fights and that, obviously, of course, but he's mad for it, and he knows more stuff probably about interviews and that than me. So I think because he's not made it as well as what he done in football, he doesn't want to see that with me. So he's very strict to me. Like, see sometimes, like, if I'm out at a camp or stuff after a fight, he's like a dad, he's nagging me, but I think that obviously support it's only because he wants the best for me, do you know what I mean?
Is he a very dedicated man?
He is dedicated as well. He's always lived, even now, well, like, so I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Junior, but it's not professional level anymore, but even now, mate, like, he's got a girlfriend, right? He'll know if he's got, like, he doesn't go out, like, for, like, drinks or stuff like that, like, before games, stuff like that, eat bad, he still diets good, he runs with me every morning when I'm in camp and stuff like that. He's always naturally been in good shape as well, so he's the same, do you know what I mean?
That keeps you mentally switched on as well. So you keep fit and things like that, eating the right things. That keeps you focused in life. You need that. Do you know
100%, mate. And we'd have things like outruns and stuff as well. See, obviously I fight. I'm quite lonely in terms of, like, so I don't mind running and stuff myself because it's me that fights myself. But see, having somebody there that's pushing you, your track sessions, he's doing time stuff like that. It's a big help because see, some days, mate, when you just can't be bothered or you're not feeling it, see, you've got somebody there that's pushing you. You can't slack. You've got to. Do you know what I mean? If I'm running with him, I just can't. I stop. I've got to stay with him. Do you know what I mean? So he helps as much obviously as possibly can. Do you know what I mean? He's in various ways. I said training, just being there for me. He's a big support. Do you know what I mean? So.
Would it be fair to say boxing's gave you a very good structure in your life so far?
100%. Biggest thing I think with anybody in boxing is the discipline and respect it teaches you. Not just for fellow fighters, just in general life, but I think obviously if you want to go into any boxing gym, and that's why obviously you see so many people in boxing try to promote it to get it in schools and stuff like that. It's discipline and respect is above everything, do you know what I mean? The respect fighters, it's, put it this way, you couldn't pick any other sport that people could physically be battling each other and 2 seconds later they're hugging. Like it's a gentleman's sport. It's a brutally gentleman's sport. Do you know what I mean? When you look at it, so I think obviously boxing's obviously got me in a routine, but more than anything, kind of respect and discipline. You're
clearly in love with the sport. Would it be fair to say you've sacrificed a lot to get to this moment, Regan?
I obviously daily we sacrifice. I'm not going to sit and say we don't, but I always say to people when I always go about the dance stuff, see at the end of the day, mate, I don't sit and moan about it. Some days I'll have a moan, right, when I'm walking in, my mum that are eating the Dominoes and I'm sitting with chicken and rice or chicken and veg, but it's all my own doing. Like, the way I just see it is, mate, daily I'm investing in myself, like, and that's the best investment. If you've got any goals or aspirations, you need to invest in yourself. So there's no shortcuts about it. It is brutal at times, the game. Weight cuts, the stuff you miss, mate. I mean, I'm not big on birthdays anyway, right? I really couldn't care. I'm quite simple, right? But I've not been able to celebrate a birthday in time, mate, if I've been like 16 years old. Like, I'm 24. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's stuff like that people don't see. The missed parties, mate, the late nights, the early mornings. It's all sacrifices, but see, at the end of the day, see if you've chosen this sport, you can't moan about doing that daily. You need to enjoy what you're doing. It gets tough, aye, but the sacrifices are what pays off, do you know what I mean? So that's, I believe, these sacrifices will pay off. I just got to keep sacrificing, do you know what I mean?
You live the life?
100%. I made myself a promise, mate, that not just when I turn professional, just in life, whatever I do, I would always give 100%, do you know what I mean? If I don't put it this way, if I get beat off someday, I won't have any excuses about undertraining and stuff like that. I would never let myself go into a fight without preparation. So, see if I ever get setbacks, it's not going to be for, I was injured, this or that. It's just going to be because somebody's purely going to be better than me. And I can live with that, but I would never be able to live with undertraining, like some people, the opportunities they get, and they're so out of shape. I would never let that be myself, do you know what I mean? So, if I get beaten, I get setbacks, then it's just going to be because somebody's better than me, but I can live with that, do you know what I mean? So,
it's Floyd Mayweather saying you can party when you get old. Do you know what
that's it? Like, don't get me wrong, mate. I'm 24, mate. I've got a good friends, family group. I enjoy. See, when I can, mate, I'm not going to sit in here. I'm so dedicated in terms of leading up. But see, if I've got like a few days off, I'll have a beer. I love food. I'm a pig, mate. Honestly, like, see all that on Instagram, like, eating clean, like that's fine, right? But see, behind that, when I get a few days off diet, mate, I'm so fat, mate. Like,
what's your cheat meal?
That last week there, so I had that fight obviously less than 2 weeks ago now, and then I had a few days off the gym. I had a week off the diet because then I'd like another 8 full week to the next fight. But that 1 week off, mate, I was at burgers, pizzas, Chinese. For me, it's cakes. I'm massive sweet tooth, so just eating, mate. Like, I can't eat my cake and just have one. If I buy like a pack of like 4 donuts, mate. The other day I was going up to Tannadice last Monday, and we were going early for the bus to leave early, so I stopped in at Tesco and I got Krispy Kreme donuts. And I sent them my family group chat, mate, and there was 3, and my dad was like, "I'll leave us that one." Literally been a minute and a half, mate. I sent them a photo, 3 were gone, mate. I can't just. But it's one of you, man. I diet hard and I'll burn it off. But when I know when it's time to enjoy myself, I do enjoy myself. But I think now, as older I'm getting, I definitely know my limits. Like, say, nights out, I can have a night out, just go home now. Whereas previous years, my mum would have to send a search party out to get me home for it. You know what I mean? But no, I know my limits, but it's one of the ones. When I get to enjoy life, I thoroughly do, mate, because you need to enjoy living as well, mate. And see a sport especially as hard as boxing.
Time waits for no man, mate.
That's it, mate. Do you know what I mean? You forget, see, at the end of the day, it's a sport and it's your life, but you're only here once, mate. So see if I can have a beer or 10, I certainly will. If I can have a cake or 10, I certainly will.
You're just getting started, mate, aren't you?
100%, mate. As I says, mate, now kind of getting into title contention. I believe, my team believes, my family believes it's the right time for me, mate. I genuinely, I'm big on a lot of things, mate, in terms of law of attraction and stuff like that. And I just believe all this kind of timing now, I'm coming into, I'm starting to grow, I'm starting to become more of a man, more mature. I just think it's the right time for me.
You feel yourself getting stronger as you get older?
100%. Feel myself physically getting bigger every day. As I say, we just spoke about, obviously I'm massive for a lightweight, but I still, the sacrifices and stuff I make the right ways to get down. But I believe as long as I keep dedicating myself and growing and listening to Joe and listening to the team about me, then as I've spoken about, I don't see any limits. You know what I mean? I believe the good thing for me as well, mate, I don't want to just be one of these people that's looked at upon success. I want to be involved in exciting fights, and as I touched on before, I'm getting opponents that are better, more challenging for me, and I know I need to be on my game. It's only going to make for better fights and better quality for myself. Do you know what I mean? So I believe people have not even seen 30% of what I can do, mate, and for me that's very exciting. Do you know what I mean?
Well, let's just run it back. Brought up in Robroyston. How was your upbringing?
Brilliant, mate. The famous YGF. Brilliant, mate. I come from, it's funny, mate, everybody knows I come from the quietest estate ever, mate. I stay in a wee estate called Glendale. Behind Robroyston Asden. I've always stayed there, mate. It's brilliant. One of my best friends, Matt, actually stayed literally 2 doors up for me. And obviously my brother and that, we were same ages, mate. So growing up, I had a brilliant childhood, mate. Boxing didn't come obviously till later in life. Early life, as soon as I was born, mate, I had a football in my hands, you know what I mean? I was mad, but I was whatever, mate. I was, certain neighbours in the street used to call me the devil child, mate. My mum had a few run-ins with him. I was just so hyper early on, but I had a brilliant upbringing. I couldn't ask for anything really more, to be fair.
Did you have much as a child?
I had more than anything, mate.
Mm-hmm. Was that due to your mum and dad's hard work, I take it?
Oh, 100%, mate. My mum and dad, you obviously hear these stories about saying, look, don't get me, mate, my mum and dad loved her. I'm always big on fashion, mate, so I love clothes and shoes and stuff like that. My mum and dad are the same, but you know you need to work hard to get these things, mate. But growing up, I had everything, mate. I had everything, mate. Shoes and laces, the same shoes and straps, just everything, mate. We had everything growing up, mate. Every new TV, console, PS, everything, mate. Do you know what I mean? No just putting stuff on materialistic things, but we had everything we could and more we could ever done, you know what I mean? So that's how I say, like, not just in the materialistic things, but in terms of sport, I could never give back to my mum and dad because we never wanted for anything, mate. Even if we, like Christmases and stuff like that, mate, it was too much. They gave us too much, but the way they brought us up was the right way also, that we weren't spoiled, didn't change us as anything. Do you know what I mean? What we had in materialistic things, my mum and dad, we had more in love and support and stuff like that, so it equals out, do you know what I mean?
Do you feel that upbringing for your mum and dad has shaped you into the person that you are today?
100%. People always say, mate, like, it's a shame, mate, because my mum, she's only got a mum, my gran, she's the one that stays with us, which we touched on earlier.
The ticket master.
The ticket master. She's the brains. But my dad, he's lost both his parents, but seeing them, obviously, in the way they've grew up, they come from, my mum's an only child, but my dad comes from a big family, so family's always been big to my mum and dad, obviously, do you know what I mean? But you get people that say, oh, they wouldn't know what to do for their mum and dad, but a lot of people are quite independent, but I'm independent, but I genuinely, mate, like, I always say to my mum and dad, mate, and honestly, I say it to my mum all the time when she gets upset, I genuinely hope I die before my mum and dad. Like, that's not me sugarcoating it, because see, genuinely, when it comes to it, see, if I didn't have my mum and dad, I couldn't live, never mind day boxing alone, mate.
Mm-hmm.
I rely on that. I do rely on them, obviously, but the support and stuff, and the way they've always been there, mate. No matter whether it's in our sports, in our day-to-day life, they're just so heavily invested in us. You know what I mean? So I generally couldn't see life without my family. Like, that's not shit. That's just generally me saying it how it is, mate. Do you know what I mean?
You just touched on you're very close to your dad. Do you look up to him?
Massively.
Mm-hmm.
I think my dad always says, mate, just promise me 2 things. You do something that makes you happy and you give 100%. Just see, sometimes though, when I hear, like, my dad's dead like me in terms of I'm dead personality like my dad in terms of the hard working, but see, in terms of I hate people. I always tell, I'll go to bed and I'll tell my mum that, say I love you, and I'll tell my friends that I love you. Like, I'm quite I wear my heart on my sleeve, but I don't like people seeing me get upset and that, right? But see, sometimes, like when my dad after fights and that says like I've made him proud and stuff like that, and you could see like for him, my dad's a man's man, you know what I mean? See when he says that sort of stuff, or even if he texts me it, that's kind of a big thing for me. So I look up to him, and see, as long as my mum and dad are happy, I believe I'm doing the right things, you know what I mean? So for that, it's massive.
Do they get nervous before you fight?
Still, mate. I swear, she's an amateur growing up. Everybody in our gym and that, Joe and that, used to laugh because my wee sister, for all my fights I've always had videoed. You can always hear my mum scream. My grandmate, she's since the first bell. I've had like amateur and pro. I've had probably about 38 fights now, and my grand's never seen one live round. Like her, my mum, my dad. I think the most important thing for them now, but what they know as a professional, is she going up in levels now. I'm going to get hurt at times. I'm going to suffer. But they need to accept that as part and parcel of the fight game. It's not always going to go.
Do you worry about that, getting hurt in a fight?
No. It's part and parcel of the fight game, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Comes with territory, doesn't it?
Comes with the territory. I've had bigger losses in life, mate, than getting beaten in a boxing ring at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? Like, pain-wise, obviously, it'll hurt. My pride will hurt, but any setbacks that I get hurt, or if I'm in the wrong end of a stoppage or stuff like that, it's no scare, mate. You're in the wrong sport if you're worried about getting hit. Do you know what I mean? I don't worry about that. I don't worry about pain. The only thing that I care about is getting home safe to my family, mate. And that is generally, when you think it, obviously you want to win and you want to perform, but you want both people to get there safely. Do you know what I mean? But my mum and dad and stuff, they obviously do get nervous. I don't know how they do it, mate, because see, if I seen MD hitting MD my family, mate, I couldn't control myself. So I don't know how they do it, but they're getting obviously better as time goes on. But I dare say as the fights get harder and that, and maybe there's some blood in that and cuts in some fights, I'll sure hear my mum again, do you know what I mean? But they understand.
It's hard for
mate.
families, isn't it, mate? Because see, this sport comes with stress. We touched on it earlier. Pressure, highs, lows. It's tough, man. It's mega tough. And you need to be the best Regan Glackin every time you go to that ring. Because if you don't do that, you'll finish second best. And you know that?
Mate, that's the beautifully brutal sport that we're in, do you know what I mean? You've got to take the good with the bad, and I think as a fighter, you've got to be prepared for that. Like, you can only give it 100%, right? And your coaches can only tell you so much. See, ultimately, you can only do it, mate. That's what I say, and that's the one thing I like about boxing. I can only rely on myself. See, if I fall short, I can't blame anybody but myself. But you can only give yourself the most ideal preparation and effort to go in there and do it. Like, see, at the end of the day, you can prepare for 10, 12 weeks of training camp. It's all down to that one night, and you've got to be prepared. Some nights, mate, somebody's just better than you. Doesn't mean they're more talented, doesn't mean they're a better fighter. It just means on that night, it's their night, no yours. You know what I mean? You've got to be prepared for that. You can't expect going into every fight with confidence because I work hard, right? But I'm fully prepared, mate, 'cause it could be me that's flat in my back. You've got to take that, mate. You've got to be prepared for that.
I like that, mate. You're prepared to take risks. Because a lot of fighters out there paddies records and all this bollocks, but you really do feel that you can take on anybody when you get to your peak.
Well, that's it, mate. Like, I'm realistic more than anything, mate. Like, when you look at especially the division I'm in, lightweight, and you look at the world champions and you're like,
so you're at the embryonic stage that you'll get to that eventually if you believe you can do it.
Well, that's it, mate. I believe it's a time and effort. Do you know what I mean? But you're looking at these fighters and stuff, but see if that doesn't excite you. Like, if you were to say to me, like, you're possibly in the ring with a Devin Haney one day or stuff like that, I'd be like, wow, like, do you know what I mean? That excites me. Don't get me wrong, these people are at a different level and it'll be different champions at the time I'm up at that level, do you know what I mean? But looking, and as I say to you, setting realistic goals, obviously each fight, and no jumping the gun, but if you know what to put risk into it, mate, and test yourself in the wrong sport, mate, as we've just said, padded records. I don't want to be one of these fighters, mate. Look, some people that are like 23-0, mate, and you look at their records and they've fought, do you know what I mean? 18 bin men, do you know what I mean? But see, at the end of the day, mate, like, journeymen are a big part of boxing, especially early on for the learning process. Like, some of these people are good. They're not, you don't just take them for their losses. Some of these boys can fight, do you know what I mean? But as we touched on, like, getting the better opposition, that's only going to bring out the best in me, do you know what I mean? When somebody's coming and hitting me, that's when you're going to see the best, do you know what I mean?
What brought you to boxing, Regan?
Just, mate, literally pre-season, obviously in football, you stop for a few weeks and stuff like that. Growing up, obviously, we were on a boys' club together that my dad run, and one of the kids in it, their dad was wee Tiger Lion that runs Robroyston ABC. And he always used to say to my dad, like, bring the boys down, like, for just some extra training and stuff. As a wee boy, like, this is maybe like when I'm like 8 and 9. Prior to that, when I was like 6 or 7, my cousin Andrew used to go to a boxing in Milton, and I'd went before, but I was too young to even know what was going on, do you know what I mean? But when I was like 8 or 9, I started going just down to Robroyston just for like fitness outweigh football, do you know what I mean? Like, if I had a night off training, I would go down there and just do extra stuff like that. and I just enjoyed it. James was like, you're actually good at it. Like, I never ever took notice. As I said, I was just doing for extra training and enjoyed it, so I just kept going. But it was just that, me. As I say, I didn't grow up. Nobody in my family was fighters. I didn't have anybody to look up to that go, do you know what I mean, you can follow in that footstep. My dad played football when he was young. My brother played football, I played football, but it just kind of drifted off that. I literally started as a fitness thing to enjoy, and it just kind of went on for there.
Did it come natural to you? That be fair to say that?
The fighting side, because see if there was anybody that was ever on a fight in a football park, it was me, and if it wasn't me, I was sitting at the back, do you know what I mean? But I just wanted to win that much in a football park. Obviously tackles fly in and stuff like that, but I was never shy of trouble. I would never start trouble, but I wouldn't be shy for it, do you know what I mean? It obviously came natural for James and stuff to say to me, like, to my dad, and that, listen, this boy, he could become a fighter if you want. Obviously I was good at it. I didn't realise that at the time, I didn't know. I just used to go down for enjoying it and to take my anger out and stuff, do you know what I mean? But I didn't think it of it at the time, like, oh, I could be good at this, because I didn't know it about boxing, do you know what I mean?
Do you love fighting?
I love, now obviously getting into it, but
what do you love about it?
See, the thing I probably shouldn't love that Joe always goes on about, see, sometimes it takes me to get hit to wake me up, and that's how, like, honestly, sometimes I'll be lax as the days go and stuff like that, like, never in a fight, but just sometimes in the gym and stuff like that, and I'll get caught with a shot, and then I'll be like, no, what? That's when I get angry, and as long as you channel it in the right manner, I've got a lot of anger there, mate, like, just, I don't know why, like, just pent up aggression, but I use it in the right way. But there's just something about boxing, mate, like, it's respectful, but see, at the same time, you mix that respect with what to take that guy's head off. Like, I'm not being funny, see somebody standing in front of me hitting me, like, it generally gets me excited there. I don't know, I think you need to be tapped in the brain or something, but I think boxing chooses the people. You don't choose boxing, as they say, do you know what I mean? Boxing chooses you, but there's just something about, I don't know, getting hit and testing yourself, because you're putting your body to the limits, you know what I mean? Physically and mentally.
Through hell, aren't you,
mentally as well, mate, do you know what I mean? So, I don't know, it's just, you need to be, like we spoke about, you need to be obsessed with it, but you need to enjoy that, the pain. I don't know, it's like I don't know how to word it, it's just like there's a happiness in that pain. There's
obsession.
Nothing better. It's an obsession, but as all fighters say, mate, the fight night's the good bit for us. That's generally it. The fighting is the easiest part of boxing. If it was all only about the fighting and you didn't need to make weight, mate, it'd be brilliant, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But
that's the hardest part of people doing, is making weight's fucking tough, man.
It's horrible, mate. It's horrible. I try and diet as best I can and eat as best I can prior, so I'm not having a terrible weight cut. But every fighter obviously will tell you want as many advantages as you can, so as long as you're doing it in a safe manner and no draining yourself, you want to be as light as possible. Like, see the amount of people that try and go, oh, how do you know just fight you this weight? You're like,
that's not how it works.
It's not just, mate. I mean, if I thought the way I walked about, I'd be fighting guys at like 6'2", 6, so it's correct. Crazy. You walk about different, so you obviously know the process of weight making, but it's doing that in the right way. That's the hardest part about the diet, the sacrifices. I mean, the night's obviously Mother's Day there all. In my house having a Chinese in it, sweet and sour, everything cutting about. And
you're getting prawn crackers, aren't you?
And I had a prep meal, mate. I'll go home. If there's any prawn crackers, I'll go down, you know what I mean? But see if there's any leftovers. But that's the hardest part that people don't see, mate, the sacrifice in the diet.
When did you realise that you were, you know what, I'm fucking good at this sport?
I'd say maybe I had my first fight.
What moment, tell me.
There was years ago, I was at Robroyston, ABC, obviously the first amateur I started it before I moved to Hayfield with Joe, and there was a club, Fordwood, obviously in Motherwell, that are still going about, but they had a wee boy at the time and his name was Regan Glackin. He was actually my name and he was the Scottish champion at my weight. So literally, mate, I'm not even joking, I was at boxing about 3-4 weeks and Tiger says to me, we're going to go up for sparring, do you want to come if you're not at training that night? And I says, aye, that's fine, I'm not training. So the next week we goes up to Fordwood and I'd never been in like an away boxing gym. And you'll know, people, well, I'm sure you've heard stories, see us like an amateur and that. And even now when you go to other gyms for sparring, some of it can be like, some of it's not all like pure friendly, some of it's like people are eyeing you out. And we walked into Fordwood, a pure wee hut in a pure rough part of Motherwell it was at the time. And there was about 30 boys just sitting there all pure staring at us, right? I was like, I couldn't really care. I'm right up for this. So when we were going to go to spark, this people, he was like a 3-4 time Scottish junior champion at the time. And we went in and like, with the first 25-30 seconds, mate, I bust his nose open. And mate, that was only like 30 seconds in, but that was only about 3 weeks into me ever lacing up gloves. And like, James was quite surprised. Like, we'd done a few rounds and that, obviously cleaned his nose and stuff, but for me that was like, he's meant to be the best at my weight and my age to now, and I've just kind of gave him a good shot after 30 seconds. So for then it was just kind of like, alright, so that was at like kind of maybe 10, and I just kind of rolled with it for then. And then it was like, when I had my first fight at 12, I just kind of then my focus was starting to switch to boxing at that point. Do you know what I mean? So that's probably the touching point for me. It was like, so I was going home, I was like, my dad, I went and bust the Scottish Champions nose open night. He's like, oh, did you?
Well, you look back in that moment when you overcame adversity, and you look back at that in years to come, and you know what? That's where I got that from, and it gave you that hunger. And you look back, and know what? I done that, and you came out your comfort zone. Will you look back in that moment in years to come?
Obviously, when I look back at my career, I fully expect obviously there to be bigger highlights than that. Do you know what I mean? But that obviously maybe was a wee spark at the time I needed to switch my focus to obviously boxing. Do you know what I mean? It was funny because I was speaking to my mum the other day. My birthday was obviously the end of February, and I actually got a chain, a new boxing chain with gloves and stuff on it. But when I look back, I kind of speak to my mum's like, obviously, as I says to you, it's like boxing chooses you. She's a wee, although I don't know how it happened. See, when we were wee babies, my mum bought me and my brother matching bangles, right? And he had a football boot and a football on it,
right.
And I had one with 2 boxing gloves on it, right? But this was like a baby. Like, I don't even know why my mum got me. She just got me, right? I don't know. She was just like, I'll get him the boxing one. So I just speak to mum the other day, and I was like, I believe it's kind of, as I say, it's boxing. I believe it chooses you. So I believe I was kind of, when you look at it, destined for it. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I was. I came into it at a young age as well as football, and could have had a good career in that. But obviously, I pursued boxing. But I believe that kind of wee instances like that were maybe the start of my switch of focus. I mean, that maybe one night up at Motherwell, just busting somebody's nose, was obviously maybe just a wee sign. Do you know what I mean? But you can look into it many ways. But that for me was just kind of a wee starting point to, oh, I'm actually all right at this. So.
You touched on the football there. Tell me about the football career.
I love football, mate. I had footballs at my back that were for outdoors. I had footballs in my room that were for indoors, mate. I used to break ornaments. I used to, anytime, mate, if I wasn't asleep, mate, you'd hear me then keep up. So I was obsessed with football, mate, as a wee boy. And I was always very good, mate, because I was never shy. I would always fly into tackles and stuff like that. So although I was always tiny, as we touched on, until the last few years, I wasn't scared, do you know what I mean? So I think football for me, for a wee boy, obviously growing up, going to football matches, but as well as playing, it was everything to me. It was everything to my dad growing up, it was everything to my brother growing up, so it was just a natural kind of thing, do you know what I mean?
Where do you get that fearless attitude from that you took onto the football pitch? Where do you get that from?
I don't know, like, I don't really know. It's obviously, as I say, like your upbringing, but you can't really say that because some people, you could have the best upbringing, but some people are softer and some people are harder than others. I think that's down to the individual itself. As I say, it's like your inside, like you can change the way you act on the outside, but see in terms of like boxing is a good sport for that, you obviously find out what people are really made of and they go and get stuff. And I think that's an individual. You can't teach that. I think you're literally born with that. I know some people that.
Yeah, do you think that's been built in you?
It's the hundreds. I think you're born with it, mate, because especially like a sport like boxing and stuff like that. It's like just in general, like, mate, I don't like fighting. I enjoy boxing fighting, but I don't like violence out the ring, right? Yeah. But if it comes to it, I'll do it. If it needs, I'll protect myself. Do you know what I mean? Some people would shy away from violence. I think it's your own instinct. I think it's either born in you, mate. Some people just don't like doing stuff. Some people do like doing stuff and stuff like that. But I definitely think it's born with you, mate, in terms of that. The way I've been fearless and no worrying about stuff like that, like it's definitely you're born with that sort of thing. You can't teach that. Do you know what I mean? Tell
me some of the players that you played with at Celtic when you were there.
Well, one of my closest friends still to this day is obviously doing really well at Celtic now, Anthony Ralston. Me and him were actually at a boys club together called Scotland Boys Club, and then I actually moved to Celtic before Anthony, and I was at Celtic for a few years, and then he soon came. Anthony Ralston was a very good player, obviously.
Comes to your fights, doesn't he?
He's not been. It's kind of hard for him, obviously, because they need to watch what they're doing, kind of out west, so certain nights. But I think it's obviously depending on how the season goes in terms of fixtures. I think obviously with this Hydro one, they couldn't make that one another week. Yeah. But I think he's going to try and come to the Hydro one. As I say, I don't put pressure on him. I understand the level he's at now. It's not what comes to territory playing with Celtic and stuff. But there was a lot of good players growing up. Obviously, to be fair, the only kind of players that I played with that have kind of made it through now, and it's funny because all the best players that I played up with, I think you get to that point in life where you go one way or the other. The best players for me all growing up, the ones that were really talented, don't play anymore. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's no point saying their names because people don't know them if no one made it, but kind of two players through Celtic that I played with, Anthony Ralston's made it, and then when I was at St Mirren for a few years, my friend Kel McGuinness, he's obviously at Hibs now, he broke through and he's made it, so It's just a select few that have stuck with it. The Orient Sport's the same as I'm doing with boxing and stuck with it, and it's obviously working for them, you know what I mean?
Does Anthony get you sorted out with tickets and that for the games, aye?
So he would, he's sorted me out in the past. I'm hoping I actually messed them all night. I've got somebody else that sorts me reluctantly, and obviously I get tickets for every ground, but if I'm really struggling, I don't really like asking him, so it's just added pressure. I can get sorted other ways anyway, but I messed them the other day, because obviously we're away at Ibrox next week, and that allocation
tight, mate, 700, isn't it?
Mate, it's honestly, I wouldn't even say gold dust, because it's more than that. I've only had, for the allocation cuts, he made the squad once before, and that's the only time I've had a ticket, and it's the one we won 2-0. So that was a special day. But
I've seen
I'm
that view at the front of the class, seen that picture,
One of our close pals for school and stuff like that, and growing up, he's in the Green Brigade and stuff like that, and obviously a lot of them didn't get tickets, so he was down the front, so I phoned him when I went in. And he phoned me, he could see me, and he's like, "Moan down the front," and just stabbed it. I was all the papers and everything, mate.
See that allocation the way they do that with the old firm. That's garbage, man. You need to sort that out and give Celtic the Broom loan and give Rangers the East Stand,
the corner, the corner, and then obviously the upper as well. But it just kills the fixture, mate. Listen, regardless, obviously whatever side you're on, mate, I'm sure 99% of fans would agree it needs to go back to the old allocation, mate, because it's no fair. There's too many people. I go everywhere I can, right, home and away, but there's people that have been doing that for longer than I've been alive that should be sorted rightfully before me. Like, see, at the end of the day, when the allocation cutting out, it's all about who you know.
It's a working man's sport. It's all about enjoyment. These guys work all week, then they can't get to the fit, but the weekend it's fucking garbage,
well, mate. See 90% of the working life, mate, they do their job Monday to Friday, work hard, take care of their kids, whatever they're doing, they look forward to a beer in the football weekend, mate. That, and see, through lockdown you couldn't go to games, mate. See, when people are saying let's over exaggerate, like suicide rates not up through the roof, that's people's way of living. No, everybody's got boxing like I've got to turn to, or football, or people, that's what they look forward to doing, you know what I mean? And to take that away from people, or obviously restrict numbers the way they're doing now, I don't think it's fair. So I certainly want the allocation to change. It means I can get a ticket easily anyway, you know what I mean?
What do you do outside the boxing? What takes you away from everyone? What's your go-to place?
I don't really get a lot of time now, mate. I only get one kind of rest day a week, but I say just spending time with my friends and family, do you know what I mean? I've got a really good friend group as well, mate. I've had my full life. All my boys have been with me for, I've been 4 or 5 year olds, you know what I mean? As I touched on, one of my closest friends stayed in the same street. My other friends that I went to school, we've got a group of about 7 or 8 boys that they're constantly there, do you know what I mean? We all live kind of local to each other, so when I'm not, it's literally just spending time with them, mate. At yoga and stuff like that, do you know what I mean? So
what takes your mind off of things, whether it be reading, relaxing, things like that? What takes your mind off of things?
I love TV. TV,
box sets,
cooking, TV.
I was surprised at that one with the cooking. I thought you all would do the cooking for
honestly, mate, a lot of people say, do you know why? I think I get into cooking because I've always had a sweet tooth. I used to love baking at school, right? I loved home ec. Right. I was the only one of the few boys in my home ec class, right? But I loved baking. Obviously more now it's like healthier meals and that. I'm good at healthy like alternatives and stuff like that, but I think it was baking when I was younger. Me and my sister used to love baking, man. You know what I mean? She's like me, she's got a sweet tooth, so cooking kinda. I like cooking, spend time with my pals and that, but I'm into history as well, so she likes it. Like, TV, I'm massive, right? I've watched every film, every series there is, man. I could go on about films and that, but history kinda, I don't read any of that crap. I've only read one book ever, and it's The Secret, The Law of Attraction. I mean, I like that, but just kind of TV and stuff, like just day-to-day normal stuff, get out with the dogs and stuff, mate. I'm pretty normal. Celtic, a lot of time spent up with going to the games as well, so just stuff like that, mate. Nothing out of the ordinary. I'm just a normal boy out when I'm not training, you know what I mean?
Tell me about your amateur career. Obviously you started out at Robroyston. How good was your amateur career?
See the thing, mate, I wasn't one of these people that had a pure massive amateur career, won all these titles, fought internationally. I started off at Robroyston, and then when I had a first, I think I was 4-0 when I had 4 fights, and then when I got to the age of 14, when I gave up football to fully go to boxing, that's when I looked and I was seeing at the time like Jack Turner, Nathaniel, Joe Ham, Stuart, with Joe Ham. And that's then I says, right, if I'm going to fully do this, when I spoke to my mum and dad, if I'm going to give up football and pursue boxing, I need to be going and testing myself. I need to go, and they were the best at the time, they'd all the champions. So I moved to Joan at 15 years old, 15 just touching 16 maybe. So 8 years I've been with Joe, so I was 16. And that's when I kind of went to Hayfield and took it serious, mate. At the end, I think I had about 27, 28 amateur fights, 1 Western District Senior, 1 Scottish Intermediates and Novice titles and stuff like that. So like that, I didn't represent Scotland. I'd been to Scotland training, but I didn't have a huge, even as I says at the start of this interview, I've still had under like 40 fights, amateur and pro. Like, I've not had a massive career. And I think obviously people don't. I think because my style's always been suited more to pro, people don't notice that. From when I've turned pro, my style's kind of progressed quite well. I would think anyway, but I've not got a pure massive amateur career. I've not got that big star-linked amateur career that a lot of people have. Do you know what I mean? I've not got that, but I think obviously the professional, it looks already, the way things are going, I'm a lot more suited to that anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Who's the best you faced in amateur? I know it's short, but is anybody that's a standard that you faced when you're amateur?
It's hard to kind of say because a lot of, obviously was in Scotland, I wasn't international but it was Scottish, but the only one I can maybe think of off the top of my head was I fought Sean Spence in the seniors of the Scottish in the semi-finals, and at the time he was the most experienced, so I would kind of probably have to edge towards him. Lock in Sean, do you know what I mean? Sean's still at boxing, Sean's a lovely boy, mate. Still speak to him obviously because he's under the same sponsor as me and stuff like that, so I've always kind of spoke to Sean. So at the time, kind of when I bumped it was a close fight, but his experience at that time probably made him the best I've kind of, because he was the most experienced person I'd fought, so I'd probably go with Sean as an amateur.
How have you find going from amateur to pro?
I just think it's kind of been natural for me. Like, don't get me wrong, when I look at my debut now to my last fight, I've progressed very well, do you know what I mean? But I think the good thing about me is I'm not lightning quick, but I think the good thing with me is I've got good timing. I don't waste much shots, so I think that kind of no slower pace, but see, because you know you've got more rounds, you're sitting down in your shots a bit more. I didn't like the pure in and out and in and out. Like let's be honest, mate, if it's 3 minutes, or when you're young, 2 minutes, or 3. My first fight was 1 minute.
Short,
MD can win that. It's a road running race, you know what I mean? But I think it's been quite natural. Obviously, we've had to work on a lot of stuff, me and Joe and stuff like that. But as obviously you expect, there's always rooms to improve. But I think just the style of the professional suits me a lot better anyway.
You turned pro in 2019 with Alec Morrison. How proud a moment was that for you, but also for your family as well?
Oh, massively. As I always said, obviously it was always football growing up, and I said I wanted to be a professional. So when I decided to quit football, my goal then was ultimately put everything in to become a professional at boxing and try and take that as far as I can. So for me, obviously I was 20-year-old. I made my debut at 21, but I signed my contract at 20. So for me, obviously that it was the biggest thing I could have done for me at that point. You know what I mean? So after we won my senior title, me and Joe thought it was the perfect time to switch over. While I was young and I was growing, do you know what I mean? I was still, I'm not a man now, but I was young at that age, but it's kind of transitioning into a young man, do you know what I mean? So it just felt like the perfect time. But at that time, that was obviously huge for me, do you know what I mean?
Do you feel you've got the style to be a force to be reckoned with in the next, just say, 18 to 24 months in the lightweight division, domestically in Britain and possibly European? If you move quick.
Well, 100%, as I say, you take it each, even that British level, especially lightweight's one of the divisions in Britain where it's stacked, like even like the Commonwealth, like the champions like Gavin Gwynn and stuff like that, they're all tough, they're all very good boys. And as I say, I'm realistic, that's a level above me now. That's too soon for me now to fight those sort of boys, but with the right progression and stuff, 100%. I think obviously, as we spoke on, what you said, I'm very big for the weight. I'm a big boy for lightweight, do you know what I mean? But the way I diet and train, I still make that weight safely. So MD that I've sparred with, mate, when I've been in with even people a few weights above me and stuff like that, I've never been in a swung about with MD. I've never been really out muscled obviously and stuff like that. So especially at lightweight, and I put on a lot for the weigh in and stuff like that and rehydrate. So not just that, obviously being big and strong only takes you so far. But I've got the skills and I'm perfecting my craft each day. I'm seeing improvements, and Big Joe's seeing improvements for me. So he's the one that's guiding me. So as long as he's happy with the progression I'm making and getting the right fights at the right times, then there's no reason why I can't eventually push on like European and stuff. That's obviously a few years away. Well, who knows? You take each fight as it comes. But I think obviously with my size, the way I train, my will, my talent as well, all that combined into one, I think only can go one way. There will be setbacks. I'm no everybody's Floyd Mayweather that can go 49 and 0, do you know what I mean? But there will be setbacks. But at the end of the day, if I keep dedicating myself and living the way I live, then I think at the end of the day, Ricky Burns is a perfect example at lightweight as well. Yeah. Hard work. He's a 3-weight world champion, mate. Do you know what I mean?
What professionals do you look up to? You touched on Ricky there, but who do you look up to in the game?
My favourite fighter ever, domestically, globally, is Anthony Crawler. And honestly,
right,
oh mate, I love him.
He's a legend, isn't he?
Love him, mate. Do you know why I love him as well? First started because me and my brother used to watch boxing. One of my I'm not even a guilty pleasure, mate. I love Whitney Houston, so right. Love, mate. With the Bodyguards, me and my mum, Gladiator, and the Bodyguards are favourite films. So
Whitney and all that stuff, aye.
Oh, I love it, mate. So he obviously used to come out to $1 Million Bill, but I loved his style. He was my weight. He actually followed me back on Instagram. I used to message him all the time, and when I turned professional and stuff like that, I messaged him. I was like, listen, mate, I'm keeping an eye out for me. I'm going to be like you one day and stuff like that. And he actually followed me a few weeks ago, and I messaged him. I was like, listen, thanks for the follow and stuff. And he's like, no worries, I'm going to have a look out for your career and stuff. I don't know if he's seen like I'd signed the fight zone and stuff like that, but he followed me back. Do you know what I mean? I was buzzing with that.
Just look what he done, right? He got knocked out with Derry Matthews, right? And look what he done when for then. That just shows how good a fight is and the dedication he put into that sport. He's phenomenal. He's a total legend crawler.
He had, and see the thing is that people forget, that was only in a few years for. It was a bit. I remember watching that fight, mate. And it was in my sister's room at the time, that with the Derry, it was the uppercut, the knockdown was a heavy knockdown. Me and my brother watched that, and in my sister's room, I can remember it, on the old Sky boxes. And Derry Matthews, obviously, and at that time, Anthony Craw was a heavy favourite. I think Derry Matthews was a late replacement as well, if I remember right.
Derry could hit, but man,
Derry
fucking
could punch.
hell.
Well, that's the thing as well. Like,
Tommy Coyle, remember that one as well?
That was crazy. Do you know what I mean? I've got a pal, Mark, it's obviously close pals with Derry, but that's what we were saying all day. Like, even Derry was a big lightweight as well, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Craw, obviously, he's one that I've always looked up to for the way he is outside the ring as well as in. He seems a genuine family guy as well. I like his story. Came for nothing, got losses, was written off.
Yeah.
Mate, Craw had like 5-6 losses in his career early on.
He's good with the media as well.
He's very
good
he
in the
talks
media.
and do you know the thing is, mate, when somebody like him, they don't try and put on a face for the media. It's just because they talk the way.
What you see is what you get.
What you see is what you get. He doesn't think he's better than them, do what he's achieved, and he always understands as well. I think a bit like me. He doesn't take things to his head. Like, I'm the worst at taking a compliment ever, mate. I'll just fire straight back with, "Oh, you could do this better."
Yeah.
He's proven he's like that as well, because no matter what he's done, he's always continually improved. You know what I mean? So he's the ultimate for me. He's the ultimate professional.
You're under against the Joe Ham Senior. How good's Joe? He's been there for the start, hasn't he?
Been there. If I took boxing serious, mate, I've been with Joe for coming up for 8 years now. My first fight with Joe was 16, and I've just turned 24, so about 7.5, 8 years. Joe's obviously, mate, he's like a father figure as well, because I see him day in, day out. Do you know what I mean? Joe. The thing I like about Joe, mate, is Joe's old school. Joe's a bit like my old man. He'll know. When you've done something, he'll tell you you've done it well, but he'll not overdo it. He'll let you know what you've not done well and what you need to work on. And for me, that you don't want somebody that's going to blow smoke at us every time you've done something good. But he's just Joe's obviously, as me and the fan actually was speaking the other day about how obviously when he gets interviewed, obviously mentions Joe a lot as well. At the end of the day, mate, our full gym the way we are as fighters is down to Joe. Obviously as individuals you work hard, but ultimately it's who's guiding you that's the most important, because as fighters you'll think you can take on the world, but having a good coach there that knows your limitations and at timing and stuff like that is massively. And I believe Joe reads fights very, very well. You know what I mean? He talks things happening before you can even see it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
he's a teacher, Joe.
He has, mate. That's what it is. He's obviously, he was a fighter as well. So it's a student, and having somebody like that that's been in the ring where you get a lot of trainers now as well, and football coaches and stuff that haven't done the craft themselves. You need to. Like, doesn't matter if he didn't go professional, whatever. He knows the game. And that's proven with the champions he's produced, amateur to professional, and still producing. You know what I mean?
What have you learned for Joe, not only in boxing, but in life?
Don't let success go to your head, and don't let it failure go to your heart. As I said, Joe's old school, but he keeps you grounded even when you do well. Obviously Nathaniel Collins doing very well now. But Joe, we would just have banter on the gym's obviously good, but Joe, he keeps you grounded. But I'm not you've no won anything big or anything, I'm no far, but just in general life, because the way he acts, Joe's proper old school. So as I says, mate, everything is just done. The thing I like about Joe as well, we train a lot and stuff like that, and trains very hard, but at the end of the day, he's only wanting what's best for us. He spends the time, he's got a family, he's still got a young daughter, he's got a wife, he's got a family, as I said, a job and stuff like that, but he's still there with us every day, and the good weather, the bad weather, on New Year's Day, stuff that people don't see. He's got a life out with that he puts on hold to put his faith in us, and obviously like we put in him, so he's obviously very, very big to us, do you know what I mean?
You touched on Nathaniel, Joe Ham Jr. there. Floyd Mayweather always lives by the persona, hard work, dedication, prayers and belief in a good team. How crucial is it to have a good team round about you? Just like those guys I just mentioned there, Nathaniel, Joe Ham. How crucial is it having those guys round about you? Massively.
At the end of the day, especially in like some my part, these boys are more experienced than me. Like arguably Joe, although you've got Willie Hutchison and stuff that won world titles and amateurs, Joe won like 10 Scottish titles in total, like seniors, juniors, British, was on Team GB. Nathaniel went to the Commonwealth Games. You had Stuart Butt, experienced people. That's why I went to that gym as well, to gain experience and learn. Like, no secret to tell me, it's when I first moved to that gym, mate, I took downs for weeks, like. And I think that a lot of people over the years have came to Hayfield and tried that, and they don't withstand it. So it's tough, as I say. Joe's old school, so it's obviously all within within reason, but it's hard, mate. See, at the end of the day, it's a fight game. So going there for a club where I was sparring younger boys, stuff like that, to like that into the deep end, that's obviously been. I wouldn't be where I'm at now if I wasn't introduced to that early on and stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's your environment. So the way we all fight and stuff like that reflects on how we train. But having the people that are all more experienced than you can only learn from them. Do you know what I mean? So especially coming through the ranks and listening to advice to people that are more. I'm a sponge, mate. That's one thing I will do, mate. That if somebody's always more experienced than me, and if I'm interested in that, it's like if we were talking now, as I said before, like I'm into history and stuff like that. If you were a historian, I'd be picking your brains. Like, see if somebody's more experienced, mate, I'll ask questions, mate, 100%. And that's the only way to learn. And a sport like boxing, even people that are at the top of the tree, mate, the best fighters in the world, Canelo, they're still learning every day.
You train like a monk. When do you sleep?
Now that I'm full time, I sleep better, mate. I'm actually I kinda, as I say, is obviously I train twice a day. I've got my own wee unit, I do some clients and stuff. My last client usually finishes at night. I'll usually be in bed, mate, for 10 o'clock, back at 10. And now like my early morning runs instead of 4 or 6, so I'm getting like a good 8 hours, 9 hours a night. And for me that's massive, because as we spoke about when I used to work and stuff, I was up running at 4 in the morning, mate, and then going working and training twice a day. Effectively had 3 jobs at once, mate. When I don't treat the PT and stuff things a job, do you know what I mean? I enjoy doing that, but when you look at it, for work, for boxing and then that, I was effectively like
hard,
working. It's hard, it's too much. And for about a year and a half, mate, like just wee daft things, like I'd be crabbing and stuff like that without even noticing. So I think now the recovery side and getting more sleep it's helping, do you know what I mean? I'm sleeping like a baby now.
Tell me your time about the wild card, when you went to wild card.
That was mad. Obviously Joe and that had been going for years previous, but it was always the professionals that go, so I was always buzzing for that. I always used to say to Joe, look, we need to get me a senior title now so I can come to LA. That was wild, because to sum it up for like, people that would probably end up watching this podcast, like for me going to the wild card and then like the same gym as like Freddie Roach, who's broke through Amir Khan and Manny Pacquiao, that's like a footballer got to train at like the new camp. Got to train in Barcelona, because people like that, you don't get bigger than the Hall of Fame, like Freddie Roach, you know what I mean? That was massive, mate. Like the first day we go there and like they're just walking around talking to you, like you need to, obviously we get invited down to the private bit of the wild card, obviously with all the professionals down the stair bit, do you know what I mean? That's under like a code, a lock and code, but we were down there obviously sparring and see some of the people. We walked right in, and that Baranchik that Josh had beat,
he's a hard hitter, by the way.
He's a tough boy, do you know what I mean? Him, Victor Postel, the boy Emiliano that Freddie's got now, the Cuban or Puerto Rican southpaw boy, him, the boy Bakov that's with MTK, the Armenian boy. He's
trained with Danny Vaughan, isn't he?
He's with Danny Vaughan in Dubai. He was the Armenian 64 kilo.
He's hard as nails, him, isn't he?
We walked in, and I'm not even joking, our first day we'd walked in, everything took a bag, watched him batter Victor Postel. Like he was, mate, he stayed in, I think he'd done 6 or 8 Postel, and then that Cuban boy jumping, he was a beast, mate. So like said, and this is like, I had made my debut like 3 weeks before. I'm like, I'm fighting next week at I fought in Paul when we were over in LA and that, I was fighting the week after, so sadly I had to diet in that over there, but I was like, oh, you're just kind of like, Freddie Roach is talking in the corner giving you advice like between rounds with Joe and that for sparring, right? First day me and Nathaniel were sparring Romero Juno that fought Ryan Garcia.
Seen that, yeah.
At the time when we went and sparred him, he was like 18 and all with like 16 KOs. Like,
did you spar Quigg as well, is that right?
Scott Quigg, Romero Juno. I sparred a Mexican boy. I can't remember his name. He was a welterweight boy, and Romero Juno again on Friday. So I had a good like 3-4 people to spar over there. Like a lot of the prospects, not big names as well, although people haven't out the boxing world haven't heard of them. But Romero Juno, Scott Quigg, obviously world champion, stuff like that. That's crazy, mate. Like for me, now obviously I'm a bit more in a professional game. I would get down to up, but for me at that time it was like, wow, man, like this is mad. Do you know what I mean? I'm going back for a water break off Joe and Freddie, and that's talking to you like, what's going on here?
How was that whole experience with Freddie being there and things like that, and Scott Quigg, Romero Juno, guys like that, Victor Postel, and how was that whole experience for you?
It's brilliant, mate. As I said, mate, it's literally living the life. Like out there, mate, it doesn't get any bigger than the wild card and in LA and stuff like that. So I mean, that is ultimately the life you're chasing. But it was just surreal, mate. Because as I say, you only see the likes of Freddie Roach and that on the TV. I've watched him as a wee boy with Pacquiao, with Khan, with everybody. Do you know what I mean? So seeing this guy in the flesh and giving you advice and speaking to you, then it's surreal. You just literally
Freddie. Did he talk to you in that?
I was talking, mate. Obviously, his health isn't great. Do you know what I mean? So it's no pure fluid conversation, but it was like they all, even that, his right hand man, Ernie, and then like Pepe and stuff like that, they were all, because all of us, mate, we went over, and the good thing about us, mate, I think Scottish, that we're obviously quite none of us are scared. Like, we went in and it's not like we were in, even like me, mate, like, so I was the least experienced at the time. You're going in and you're still going for it in the sparring. It's not like you're sparring with these people and they're taking it easy. See the one thing, the wild card, mate. I suppose Hayfield and that, the way we spar, prepared us for it. Mate, there's no holding back, mate. Like, don't get me wrong, Scott Quigg and that, they're experienced enough to, that you're not going hell for leather, try to take your head off, right? But you're going for it. See, like Sir Romero Jr. and that, mate. I remember if we came over, me and Nathaniel, when you go to touch gloves with him, and this guy was winding shots from nowhere, mate, and he could punch.
Nathaniel sparred Kimbosis, didn't he?
That was the year before.
Was that year before, was it?
He sparred Kimbosis and Selby. That was, Nathaniel went to Commonwealth Games and then was like back for a few days and then went to Vegas with them because he was turning professional. So that was his treat for getting to Commonwealth Games. He went to LA just before he turned pro. So that was the year before I went, sadly. But he's had some great sparring, obviously, with Conlon, Mick Conlon as well, getting invited down for that. So we've all had good sparring. We've all had good names. Joe as well was sparring me, like, he fought Carol Frampton for the world title. I kind of met Chris Avalos. Joe was sparring with him and stuff when we were over that year, that time there. So we've all had good sparring. Stuart and that get brilliant sparring out there as well, do you know what I mean?
You touched on Mick Conlon there. What an absolute barn burner with Leewood just last month there. What an incredible fight. Talk about going to the well. Two warriors. That was absolute fucking disco, mate. That was unbelievable. But do you know what? Mick will come back. And trust me, I think Mick will reign, right? Mick just ran out of gas that night. But that first round, right? Leewood, he was gone. He was singing to the birds left, and that came right at the very end of the round, right? And Ben Davison did state he was going to throw that towel in, but he weathered the storm. Credit to him. But what a hell of a fight, brother. Oh, mate.
You know it's a good fight when your general public are talking about it on Twitter and stuff rather than just boxing fans, you know what I mean? And it's fights like that, mate, like you want to be involved in. Like, don't get me wrong, you would rather not be on your backside in the first round, but see as like a fighter. Like, as a checklist, mate, like when people say like what sort of things, as I said, be involved in good fights, although you don't really want to get put down stuff, it's all stuff you want to tick off. One day I want to put down, be behind the way, that kind of story, like getting nearly down and out and you have to come back. That story, mate, was a brilliant fight. I'd missed the first few rounds. I actually got home because I was fighting that same night. I got home and I rewatched it for then. But that knockout was, as you said, it was steamy. It was ahead.
Run out of gas. But Mick will be back. Mick will be back. 100%. Trust me, Mick will be back. And I believe he can do it.
He's destined for greatness, Mick.
It was a tiny bit of experience as well. Just into that latter part of the fight, 10, 11, 12. He just ran out of steam, but Wood, hard as nails. But what did Wood prove in there that night?
You can never count somebody out until the bell's done. It's not over till it's over. Do you know what I mean? Leewood is one tough boy and he can punch, but the thing for me, it's just his grit. See, like that, so many people, like, and that's what I'm saying, see that kind of instinct to never giving up. You're born with it. He get put down heavy, was getting outboxed. Obviously, it was a close fight. It's one of the fights where it could have been a wide scorecard, depending on what you like, the boxing or the aggression, stuff like that. But it just shows you, like, that warrior instinct and that keep going when you're getting beat, you've been dropped, you're behind, you're chasing it. Last round.
He was spared that storm,
you know
didn't
he? Mate, that's unbelievable. And the respect for us boxers, like, seeing people put on fights like that, it's massive.
Mind blowing, isn't it?
It is.
What do you feel's next for Leewood? Do you think we'll get a unification? Do you think him and Mick will do it again? Because I believe that is the biggest money fight of them, believe it or not. And don't get me wrong, it'll be a 75-25 split probably, but do you think they can do it next? Or do you think they'll get into unification with Warrington?
I think it depends. Obviously, he was ringside for Warrington's fight last night. But I don't know, it depends. Obviously, you're saying the money fight like that, but for me, if that fight's always going to be there, and I don't know when Mick's going to come back, like how soon. Obviously, Wood's just had a 12 round effectively, a tough fight as well, he'll have a wee break, but I think if I'm Wood, I'm trying to pursue the unification, and then what I would maybe say is, then that fight becomes even bigger, but defending belts again against Mick, because see, at the end of the day, if I'm Lee Wood, you've knocked him out at the end of the day. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a fan-friendly fight, and it's a money fight, but you might not get a chance to unify because you unification, you then can get undisputed a shot of that. So
it could be a big
that rematch is for after that first fight. The rematch, like Frotch and Kessler and stuff like that fought years later. If you have a good first fight, that rematch is always going to be there. So I do believe, as we said, Mick will come again. So see, as long as Mick keeps winning, I think that could build in a possible bigger fight.
Big pay-per-view fight as well.
If I'm Lee Wood, I'd be chasing unification.
Who do you feel's the king at featherweight? I'll tell you mine first, right? Robsy Ramirez, right? I think that guy's special, right? But I'll tell you one guy, right? See Mauricio Lara, right? He may not be the best boxer, right? But by God, he is the most dangerous, mate. Tell you, that guy can club. Honestly,
we spoke about this the other day in the gym. Me, Nathaniel and Joe, we were in early before training. We were talking about it, and it's just obviously I've not fought somebody like it yet, right? But see in the back of your mind, like, see if you know somebody's a puncher, like, you can outbox them, right? But you know in your head that literally if you get caught with one clean, you're out. How you prepare yourself with something like, as I say, you're prepared to take that, but mate, I will put it this way, you know, when the champions only calling people out or backing off of somebody, you know somebody's...
He's in the Who Needs Him club, isn't he?
That's what he is, you know what I mean? He's obviously, he's a tough boy and he can seriously whack, obviously, what he done to Warrington, you know what I mean?
Aye.
That Ramirez, obviously Cuban, he's highly very talented, you know what I mean? But obviously you're saying the featherweight, obviously future wise I've got to give my teammate, I think Nathaniel will be up there one day.
Aye, definitely.
I think not only is Nathaniel, what people haven't really seen yet because he's not been in, like we're saying, that fight where he said to come back behind, he's like me, he's always been on top of things. Nathaniel's very tough as well.
He's took the risk as well against Monty, got him out of there.
That's it.
And he's a risk taker, that's what I like about him as well.
Do you know a good thing? We spoke the other day about this. Nathaniel's similar to me, right? Nathaniel's not a one punch knockout. That's what he punch hard, right, for respective weights, but we're more wear down power. But the good thing is, like him, and like I touched on earlier, the better opponents, you're the more knockouts. And his last 3 fights, he's had 3 stoppages. People are coming to try and beat him, to come to get a go, and he's stopping them. You know what I mean? And that's what happens when people come to get a fight and your fitness is there, and the better you are, the better you'll fight. And he's showed it his last 3 fights. He's picked up the Commonwealth title. He's now waiting pus buds for the British.
What's happened with that? I seen that the other day that the board put it out, but is there any movement in that?
So I think obviously a date comes and it goes to pus buds, don't it?
Yeah,
so,
that's right, aye.
So I think
Who's got deep pockets in it?
Well, that's it. And the good thing is, obviously, then it just means, the good thing I'm happy about that is when Nathaniel, now that I've announced it, obviously he's got a wee baby in that way, so if that goes good pus buds, he's in for a good pay.
Definitely.
And he's in for a good pay. Joe then gets a good pay. It just, Joe's not in it for the money and stuff like that, right? What he always stresses. But I spoke to Nathaniel, like us, if you kind of do well, that's like a thank you to Joe as well, because see if one of us is, don't get me wrong, mate, you're on it for the money, right? Yeah. But see then when you're big and you're at a good level, you want to be paid right. Definitely. You want everybody to be earning. You're not doing this hard work for nothing, mate. Do you know what I mean? Course. So I'm glad about that, because he's obviously doing well in his fight zone contract. That pus bids for the British is there. So only onwards and upwards for the both of us.
Right, Fury Whyte, how does this play out?
I don't think it was easy. I think, although he's went off social media, not right, I think Fury might be taking a wee bit lightly. I hope he doesn't, because Dillian Whyte's dangerous, right? But I can't see. I think it'll be dangerous early on, obviously for Whyte, but I can't see anything else than Fury outclassing him.
Do you feel Whyte's got a wee bit into Tyson said, no turn up to the press conference, things like that? His lawyer involved with Frank Warren in Talksport the other day there. Do you think he's going to his head just a wee bit?
No,
because really. Tyson likes to be in control. He's a showman.
He is the showman, but I just see at the end of the day as well, mate, people forget Tyson Fury's a fighting man, mate. He's a gypsy. He's fought all his life in the ring, out the ring. I think he's a master at mind games, mate, so I don't think MD will ever top him, but I kind of like the way Whyte's dealing with it, obviously, do you know what I mean? Like, he's just basically saying, listen, press conferences aren't on my contract, I'm getting paid for the fight, like stuff like that. I believe there's issues behind the scenes with pay and all that sort of stuff. I don't know enough about it, but I think I don't think MD will ever be in control of Big Fury. I don't think he'll allow it.
I saw that mental warfare shit, Dosser and all that, innit? See the Eddie Hearn, the Anti-Joshua Christmas t-shirts and all that.
So
jumpers,
funny,
it's fucking nuts, isn't it?
The thing I like, I actually spoke about a wee boy I run with the other day, but the good thing I like about Tyson Fury is what you see is what you get as well. Like, he's talked about as well, like, I think it was last year, he got offered like a multi-million deal. I think it was like Dafa Bet, a betting company as well, and he's like, nah, like,
pied it, aye.
Pied that, like, I'm not promoting gambling and stuff like that. And he doesn't need the money, right? But let's be fair, mate, somebody offered Dangles like a multi-million dollar sponsorship, you're taking it.
Biting the whole off, aren't you?
It just shows you the type of person he is. You'll know bow down to him. Then I think I like that, because Anthony Joshua and that, I like him as well, like a model professional and stuff, right? But with Fury, he's like Billy Joe, they just say what they feel.
That's
and that can be good and bad, right? But see, at the end of the day, you can't knock somebody for being honest. So
what impresses you most about Fury?
The way he's boxing, obviously he's a beautiful boxer, he's very, very talented and stuff, but the way he's come back, mate, that story for the way he came back for fighting for his life and reigned supreme, and now he's the best heavyweight, he's arguably up there. You've obviously got your people that transcended the sport like Muhammad Ali and stuff, right? But you look at Fury's achievements and that, Deontay Wilder's considered the most dangerous heavyweight that's lived, isn't he? So the way he's beat him, the fights he's been involved, he's won that's one thing I like about Fury as well. He's done it the traditional way. It was like the Irish title, British all the way through. He's done it all, do you know what I mean? So you can't fault the guy.
Right, let's just finish up a prediction for that fight. Tell me what happens.
I think Fury outboxes him and stops him late. I think so.
He's around.
I'm going to go around 10.
Well, champ, that's us for the day. I really appreciate your time. I'll leave the stage with you. Anything like to add?
Nothing. First of all, thanks for having me on. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Just a quick shout out to all my sponsors. Obviously, people behind the scenes that help me. I've got a lot of good sponsors and stuff like that. I've got obviously good people supporting me. So just a huge thank you. And for people that really don't know me, tune in May 13th because it's going to be a big performance at the Hydro, and really expect to pick up my first title and then have a big second half of this year. So onwards and upwards for myself.
Well, mate, thanks again for coming on. I wish you nothing but health, success, and happiness in the future. God bless, mate.
Thank you, mate. Top man. Thank you, mate.